Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare $quarter coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic coins in American history, a coin that millions of people have held in their hands without realizing its true potential. We're talking about the 1776 to 1976 United States bicentennial quarter. This quarter was made to celebrate the 200th anniversary of American independence, and it's one of the most recognizable coins ever minted in the United States. But as simple as it might look, some of these quarters are far more valuable than you might think, and today, we're going to explore exactly why. The bicentennial quarter is special because it wasn't just made for 1 year like most coins. Instead, these were struck in both 1975 and 1976, all carrying the dual date of 1776 to 1976. That alone makes it stand out in U.S. coinage. Instead of the regular eagle reverse design, these quarters feature a unique image of a colonial drummer with a torch surrounded by stars, a design chosen to capture the patriotic spirit of the nation's 200th birthday. The obverse still shows George Washington, but this reverse artwork makes the coin instantly recognizable to collectors and everyday people alike. Now, here's where things get interesting. While these quarters were minted in the hundreds of millions, not all of them are the same. Most of the quarters you find in change are made of copper-nickel clad, but some special versions were struck in 40% silver for collector sets. Those silver issues, especially if still in pristine condition, can be worth far more than face value. Add in rare minting errors, and suddenly you have coins that sell for incredible amounts at auction. Collectors love error coins, and the bicentennial quarter has its share of famous ones. Some examples include off-center strikes, double dies where parts of the design are doubled, and coins struck on the wrong metal planchet. Imagine finding a bicentennial quarter accidentally struck on a dime planchet, or one with a dramatic misstrike. Those are the kinds of coins that collectors chase with passion, because they're so rare and unique. Condition also plays a massive role in determining value. A circulated coin might only be worth face value, but an uncirculated or proof-quality bicentennial quarter can bring serious money. Coins graded in the highest conditions, with flawless surfaces and sharp details, are always the ones that catch the attention of serious collectors, and of course, we can't ignore the fact that these coins carry a deep sense of nostalgia and national pride. Many Americans saved them as souvenirs during the bicentennial celebrations, but only a small percentage of those saved coins have survived in perfect condition. That rarity of condition, combined with the chance of errors or silver content, is what drives the high market values we see today. So, how much are they actually worth? Well, most circulated bicentennial quarters are still only worth their face value, 25 cents. But in top condition, silver-proof examples and rare error coins have been known to sell for thousands of dollars at auctions. Some of the rarest and finest examples have even crossed the 5-figure mark, selling for more than $10,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. A coin that most people overlook as common change could actually be hiding incredible value if it has the right qualities. So check your pocket change carefully, look through your old collections, and if you come across a shiny 1776 to 1976 quarter, make sure you take a closer look. You might just be holding a piece of history worth far more than 25 cents. Top 2, we're looking at a coin that millions of people still see in their change, but very few know just how fascinating it can be. We're talking about the United States $quarter from 1979, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but with the right details, the right condition, or the right error, it can be worth a whole lot more than just 25 cents. So sit back, listen carefully, and let's explore what makes this quarter so interesting for collectors all around the world. The 1979 quarter belongs to the Washington Quarter series, which has been one of the longest-running designs in American coinage. By 1979, these quarters had already been minted for decades, but this was still a time when the coinage carried special importance. Unlike today, people actually used quarters heavily in everyday transactions, which means that most coins from this period have heavy wear, scratches, or circulation marks. Finding one in pristine condition, untouched by time and handling, is a challenge in itself. That scarcity of condition is where the true collector value begins. The obverse of the 1979 quarter shows the familiar portrait of George Washington, facing left, a design that dates back to 1932. Above his head is the word liberty, and to the side is the national motto, "In God We Trust." On the reverse is the classic heraldic eagle design, wings spread wide with arrows and olive branches beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. This was the standard design before the United States moved into state quarters decades later, so for many collectors, these coins are a nostalgic reminder of a different era of American money. But what makes the 1979 quarter special enough to talk about? The answer lies in the details that separate an ordinary piece of pocket change from a rare collectible. First, mint marks are very important. These coins were produced at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The San Francisco mint struck proof coins, which were not meant for circulation. If you find a 1979 quarter with an S mint mark and mirror-like surfaces, it could be a proof coin, and depending on its type, it could be quite valuable. Errors are another huge part of the story. Some 1979 quarters have dramatic minting mistakes that make them rare and exciting to collectors. These include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, double dies where the lettering or details appear doubled, and even planchet errors, where the coin was struck on the wrong kind of metal. One of the most famous and valuable errors is when a quarter is struck on a planchet meant for a nickel or a dime, creating a coin with the wrong weight and size. These mistakes are rare, but when they surface, collectors will pay big money for them. Condition plays a huge role as well. A quarter from 1979 that's been heavily circulated is usually just worth its face value, but when you find one in uncirculated condition, with no scratches, no wear, and sharp details, it becomes a completely different story. The higher the grade, the more collectors are willing to pay, especially if the coin also has a rare error or comes from a special proof set. The San Francisco proof coins also have their own variety. In 1979, the mint used two different styles of S mint marks, known as the Type 1 and Type 2. The Type 2 has a clearer, sharper S, and collectors prize these coins highly. Finding one of these in pristine condition can make a huge difference in value, and that's the kind of detail coin lovers live for. So after all this, what's the real value of a 1979 United States quarter? While the average circulated coin is still only worth 25 cents, pristine mint state examples, rare proof issues, and dramatic mint errors have sold for much more. Some of the most valuable 1979 quarters have reached into the thousands, and a few of the rarest error pieces have brought more than $10,000 at auction. That's the beauty of collecting coins, a coin that seems so ordinary, one that millions of people have spent without a second thought, could turn out to be a hidden treasure in the right circumstances. So take a close look at your change, especially at those quarters from 1979. Who knows, you might be holding a valuable piece of history without even realizing it. Top 3, we're going to take a closer look at a coin that may still be sitting quietly in pockets, jars, and old coin rolls across the country, but when you really dig into it, you'll find there's so much more than meets the eye. We're talking about the 1995 United States quarter dollar, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance, but with the right condition or the right kind of error, it can turn into something very valuable. So stay with me, because this is a coin story you don't want to miss. The 1995 quarter is part of the Washington Quarter series, which had been in circulation for more than 60 years at that point. By 1995, the design featuring George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse was nearing its end. Just a few years later, the United States would launch the 50-state quarters program, completely changing the look of America's 25-cent piece. That makes the 1995 issue one of the last of its kind before a major shift in U.S. coinage history, and that fact alone gives it a nostalgic appeal for collectors. Now, when we look at the details of this coin, it's important to remember that these were produced in massive numbers at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. There were also proof versions struck at the San Francisco mint. Because so many were made, the majority of 1995 quarters are still very common, and you can often find them in circulation today. But the real excitement comes when you start looking at condition, varieties, and minting errors. condition is always key for collectors. A 1995 quarter that has been through decades of use will usually only be worth face value, but a coin that has survived untouched, with crisp details, no scratches, and full mint luster, becomes something entirely different. Collectors love coins in high mint state grades, and prices can jump dramatically once you pass certain thresholds. Errors are where things get really interesting. Some 1995 quarters show double die errors, where parts of the lettering or design appear doubled. These are highly sought after because they are clear signs of something unusual during the minting process. Off-center strikes are another error type, where the design is misaligned and part of the blank planchet is visible. There are also cases where coins were struck on the wrong planchet altogether, such as being struck on a dime planchet, making the coin both smaller and lighter than normal. These rare mistakes are treasures for collectors, because every error coin is unique. Mint marks also play a role. Coins from Philadelphia carry no mint mark, Denver coins have a D, and San Francisco proof coins have an S. The proof coins are especially beautiful, with mirror-like fields and frosted details, and when kept in pristine condition, they can bring strong interest in the collector market. Within the proof coins, sometimes small variations in the S mint mark style can also attract collectors who specialize in varieties. What makes the 1995 quarter truly appealing to collectors is that it sits at a crossroad in American numismatics. It's a common date, yes, but it also represents the end of an era, right before the explosion of state quarters that would get millions of Americans back into collecting. For many, owning a pristine 1995 quarter feels like holding onto a piece of history right before the big change. So after all this, how much can these coins really be worth? Well, most circulated 1995 quarters are still only worth 25 cents. But when you look at coins in mint state condition, special proof issues, and rare error examples, the story changes. Some of the highest graded 1995 quarters and dramatic error pieces have sold for thousands of dollars at auction, with the rarest examples even crossing over the $5,000 mark, and that's the thrill of coin collecting. Something as small and ordinary as a 1995 quarter could be a hidden gem if it has the right qualities. So take a close look at your change, check those mint marks, examine the details carefully, because you never know when one of these coins might surprise you with its true value. Top 4, we're diving into a coin that many people overlook, but collectors know it can be much more exciting than it seems. We're talking about the United States quarter dollar from 1986, a Washington quarter that at first glance looks like any other from the 1980s, but when you understand its details, its history, and the errors connected to it, you'll see why it deserves a closer look. So if you're a coin lover or just curious about what treasures might be hiding in your pocket change, listen closely, because this one is worth your attention. The 1986 quarter belongs to the Washington quarter series, which started in 1932 and continued with the same general design until the late 1990s. On the obverse you have George Washington's portrait with the familiar inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." On the reverse you'll find the classic heraldic eagle design, wings spread wide, holding arrows and olive branches, a symbol of both strength and peace. By the mid-1980s, this design had already been in use for over 50 years, and in just over a decade it would be replaced by the state quarters program. That makes the 1986 quarter one of the last traditional issues before a new chapter in American coinage began. These coins were struck in large numbers at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and the San Francisco mint also produced proof versions. That means the majority of 1986 quarters are common, but like with any coin, condition and unique errors are what make the difference between a simple piece of change and a collectible treasure. Condition is the first factor collectors look at. Most 1986 quarters have been heavily circulated, which means scratches, wear, and loss of detail. But when you find one in mint state, with sharp details, no wear, and full luster, its value can rise significantly. Proof coins from San Francisco are even more attractive because of their mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs, and when kept pristine, they are highly sought after by collectors. Now let's talk about errors, because that's where the real excitement lies. Some 1986 quarters have been discovered with dramatic minting mistakes, such as off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, double die obverse errors where parts of the lettering appear doubled, or clipped planchets where the coin itself has a curved cut. One of the rarest types of errors is when a coin is struck on the wrong planchet altogether, such as being minted on a nickel or even a foreign coin blank. These unusual pieces are one of a kind and can bring in strong prices at auction. Even small details like the mint mark can matter. The Denver Mint used the D mark while Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, and San Francisco proofs bear the S. For collectors, having examples from each mint is part of building a complete set. But it's the high-grade coins and the unique errors that really drive the excitement and the higher values. The 1986 quarter is also appealing because it sits at an interesting point in history. The United States was preparing for the big redesign of its quarters just a few years later, and these coins represent the last era of the traditional eagle reverse. Many collectors view them as a bridge between old and new, and that adds another layer of meaning to this issue. So after all of this, how much can a 1986 United States quarter actually be worth? The truth is that most circulated examples are still worth only 25 cents. But in pristine mint state condition, proof coins, and especially error coins, the value rises dramatically. Some of the finest graded examples and rare errors have sold for hundreds, and in a few cases, even thousands of dollars at major auctions. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. A coin you've seen 100 times might actually be a hidden gem if you catch the right details. So take a close look at those 1,986 quarters in your collection or your spare change. You never know what kind of treasure you might be holding. Top 5, and last rare coin. We're going back to the late 1970s to talk about a coin that millions of Americans used every single day but very few people think about as collectible. We're diving into the 1978 United States quarter dollar, a coin that may look common at first glance but carries its own fascinating history, hidden rarities, and even valuable errors that can make it worth much more than just 25 cents. So if you love coins, or even if you're just curious about the treasures that might be hiding in your pocket change, listen closely and enjoy this story. The Washington quarter design had already been around for decades by 1978. It first appeared in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. On the obverse of the 1978 coin you'll find that familiar portrait of Washington, with the word Liberty above his head and the motto "In God We Trust" on the side. On the reverse you'll see the heraldic eagle, wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches, a classic design that symbolizes strength and peace. For many collectors, this design represents a traditional era of U.S. coinage that came just before the big change of the state quarters in 1999. Now here's where things get more interesting. The 1978 quarters were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints for circulation, and proof coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint. Philadelphia coins carry no mint mark, Denver coins have AD, and San Francisco coins are marked with an S. At first glance, most of these coins may look like ordinary pocket change, but the difference in mint mark, condition, and possible errors can turn a simple coin into a collectible treasure. Condition is always one of the biggest factors. By now, most 1978 quarters you'll see in circulation are worn, scratched, or dull from decades of use. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, with its original luster and sharp details, its value jumps dramatically. Collectors prize high-grade coins because they're so much harder to find after more than 40 years. Proof coins from San Francisco are also especially attractive, since they were made for collectors with beautiful mirror-like surfaces and frosted designs, but what really gets coin collectors excited are the errors. The 1978 quarter is known to have several types of mistakes that make them stand out. Some examples include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the blank, leaving part of the coin empty. Others include double die errors, where the lettering or details of Washington's portrait appear doubled. There are also rare planchet errors, cases where the coin was struck on the wrong kind of blank, such as one meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. These rare mistakes are highly sought after because they are unique pieces that slipped past the quality checks of the U.S. Mint. Collectors also look closely at the strike quality. Some 1978 quarters, especially from the Denver Mint, were struck with weaker detail, while Philadelphia coins often show sharper detail. Having a well-struck coin with strong details can make a big difference in collector value. It's also worth noting that the 1978 quarter comes right at the end of an era. Just 1 year later, in 1979, the United States Mint would begin producing Susan B. Anthony dollars, and within 20 years, the Washington quarter design would be replaced with the state quarters. That makes coins like the 1978 issue not just everyday currency but also historical markers, sitting right before a major change in American coinage. So, how much are these coins really worth today? The truth is that most circulated 1978 quarters are still worth just 25 cents. But coins in high mint state grades, proof issues, and especially error coins can bring much more. Some of the best preserved 1978 quarters and rare errors have sold for hundreds of dollars, and in rare cases, even into the thousands at major auctions. That's what makes this hobby so exciting. A coin that looks ordinary to most people could turn out to be a hidden gem if you know what to look for. So next time you come across a 1978 quarter, don't just spend it, take a closer look. You might be holding a small piece of history worth far more than you think. Thanks for joining me in exploring the story of the 1978 United States quarter dollar. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more exciting coin stories, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next treasure hunt. Until next time, happy collecting!